Imagine for a moment a situation where you and a roommate have a disagreement. Let's say the disagreement is over the division of chores in your home. While you felt you and your roommate had devised a plan for completing the daily and weekly chores, it seems that you are the only one who's doing any of the chores and your roommate is slacking. What do you do? How you respond to this question in this situation may tell us something about your personal conflict style preferences. While there are a variety of approaches to deal with conflict, each person usually has one or two default conflict styles or typical strategies for approaching conflict. In this brief presentation, we'll review 5 general approaches to conflict: avoidance, accommodation, competition, compromise, and collaboration. In addition to describing each approach, we'll also discuss the pros and cons of each approach. Let's begin with avoidance. As the name indicates, avoidance is the act of ignoring or not addressing the conflict. Avoidance often results in a you lose, I lose outcome. People who use avoidance often have a negative perception of conflict and tend to view any conflict as a potential threat to the relationship. While avoidance may enable us to function in a relationship short term, when we use avoidance, we're almost guaranteeing that the source of the conflict will resurface. To use our roommate example, if you used avoidance, it's likely that inequality of completing the chores in the home would persist. Often avoidance can result in minor situations of conflict becoming a much bigger deal. However, there are also times when avoidance may be the best choice, such as situations where the risk of addressing the conflict is high. For instance, if the conflict is with your boss, then voicing the conflict may put your job in jeopardy. Or when the conflict is based on an issue that's temporary or insignificant. The next conflict approach is accommodation. When we accommodate, we allow the other person to have his or her way. It results in a you win, I lose outcome. In the roommate conflict, if accommodation was used, you would likely continue to do your chores and likely pick up the slack for your roommate as well. Accommodation can sometimes be a productive approach to conflict in situations where the topic of the conflict is minor, allowing the other person to have their way as a means for building goodwill. Members of high-context cultures view accommodation as a noble way to address conflict by putting the needs of others before yourself. However, too much accommodation may send the message that you're a pushover and allow others to take advantage of you. The third conflict style is competition. Competition results in win-lose outcomes. When we engage in competition, we strongly communicate that our concern for meeting our needs is more important than the needs of the other person. In the American society, competition is part of our cultural fabric. Much of our culture is engrossed in competition, and our culture communicates strong messages about the importance of being a winner. While healthy competition may enhance a relationship, the competition approach to conflict often results in damage to the relationship. Competition can take 2 forms: passive aggression and direct aggression. Passive aggression is an indirect approach to conflict. Strategies of passive aggression may take the forms of nonverbal behaviors like eye rolling or loud sighs. Verbal instances of passive aggression include the use of sarcasm, humor, and guilt trips. Researchers Bach and Wyden coined the term crazy making to describe the tactics used in passive aggression. Direct aggression may also take several forms. Verbally aggressive behaviors include ridicule, teasing, character attacks, threats, and the use of profanity. Think of behaviors you would associate with someone who's a bully. Direct aggression may also be physical in nature in the form of physical attacks. Directly aggressive behaviors may have harmful physical or psychological effects on the target and will often result in significant damage to the relationship. The fourth conflict style is compromise. While compromise is often viewed admirably, in reality compromise is actually a lose-lose outcome. While compromise leads to an agreeable solution to conflict, the nature of compromise is that each side must give up something in order to reach the compromise. The final conflict approach is collaboration. The collaboration approach seeks a win-win resolution or an outcome that will satisfy all parties. The hallmarks of collaboration are that the participants demonstrate both a commitment to resolving the conflict while also maintaining high levels of regard for the other person. Collaboration can lead to new ways of resolving conflict that are unique to a given relationship, but collaboration is also one of the most time-consuming approaches to conflict, which may explain why collaborative problem-solving is rare. Now that we have a better understanding of these 5 possible approaches to conflict, here are a few things to keep in mind. First, consider the situation. A conflict over where to eat dinner or where to take a vacation is much different than a conflict over relationship infidelity and would likely require different approaches. Second, being aware of our own tendencies is important, but we should also consider the likely approach that the other person is using, as this may help us in selecting the most appropriate approach to resolving the conflict. Finally, consider what you are pursuing in resolving the conflict. Is it more important for you to get your way, or more important to maintain the relationship? Keeping these things in mind will serve as a guide for selecting the most appropriate conflict styles.